Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from across European football. Happy New Year, one and all. Welcome back to Euro Football Daily for 2022. And for your viewing pleasure, I've got Henry Hill alongside me today. Henry, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. I hope everyone had a great New Year's and Christmas, wherever you are. I can't believe, Dukes, it's almost been 2 weeks since we shot our last Continental Club. How was your New Year's? How was your Christmas?
It was nice, thank you. It was slightly COVID affected. My cousin got it, my uncle got it, Brilliant. Grace's sister got it, so she couldn't come up to stay. So it was a little bit quieter than usual, but it was still good. Lots of festive football, lots of festive food, so can't complain. How was yours?
Yeah, fine. I mean, keeping track of the football has been near on impossible. It's like a game every day. Which games are actually going on? Which games aren't? It's been wild, but yeah, it's been a nice break, and not too much European football to have to track as well this Christmas, which has made it a bit easier to focus in on, let's say, for example, the Manchester United falling apart, which we're seeing again. Actually, I just want to say to Phil Jones, fair play, because all accounts he was the man of the match on the United front. I heard he was brilliant. So that's a good Christmas story. If ever
Absolutely,
to bring us into the new year.
Yeah, after over 700 days without playing a game for Man United, incredible to perform that well. Well done, Philip Jones. But let's kick off with our story of the week. As Henry mentioned, we've just got La Liga action to talk about today, but there's plenty to get our teeth stuck into even, so don't go anywhere. But we're kicking off with our story of the week, which is a quite surprising transfer that is apparently close to being done. It's Alvaro Morata to Barcelona. What's going on with this one, Henry?
Yeah, Morata, I think, is going to end his career with one of the greatest CVs of any player ever. It's outrageous the amount of moves this guy seems to be pulling off. But it appears that Xavi is determined to bring the 29-year-old to the Camp Nou. And Spanish publication AS claims the deal is 95% done, with the Juventus forward set to join the Blaugrana on loan until the end of the season, with an option to buy. There's always an option to buy when it comes to Morata. It doesn't look like Juventus want to pay 40 million euros for him, which is completely understandable. But I mean, say what you want about Morata. Xavi clearly rates him. He thinks he's one of the best attackers in the world, and he could be available for the Spanish Super Cup against Real Madrid on January the 12th. From what I understand, this could mean the end of Memphis at the club. I'm not quite sure, but the only thing I can assume is he's a different kind of striker to Memphis. He can play with his back to the goal a bit more, and also he obviously fits the kind of Xavi's Project Spain, which is bringing back as many sort of local Catalan or Spanish players into the Barcelona squad. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. But I mean, to be fair to him, he's actually been pretty good for Juve. He scored 54 goals and provided 33 assists in 160 games for the club. That's actually pretty impressive. He's always played his best football, hasn't he? It felt that way, certainly, over in Juventus. He's averaged 0.54 goals and assists per 90. That's significantly better than the 0.46 he put out at Atletico, and the 0.40 he delivered at Chelsea. But yeah, it's not best in the world numbers. I actually thought he was quite good at Chelsea. I thought he was maybe slightly underrated about this. But I mean,
particularly that first season.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, he can produce moments of brilliance like we saw at the Euros in that thriller against Croatia. I mean, Dukes, what's your take on it? Because this is quite. We were just talking about Isak to Arsenal as a potential other transfer. It's quite mind-numbing to see Morata closing on another huge move once more.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one I didn't see coming. But given their financial situation, given Juventus's financial situation, it kind of makes a little bit of sense that Juve wouldn't want to take up that 40 million option to buy, that Barcelona would be able to loan him for the rest of the season and take up that option if they desire so in the summer. And as you say, he's got big game experience. He's played for some massive clubs. You know, he's obviously played for Real Madrid, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, and now potentially Barcelona. He'd become just the third player in history after Bernd Schuster and Miguel Soler to represent each of Spain's big three. But what was more confusing, as you intonated in the first section, was why they were willing to let Depay leave for Morata. For me, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, especially with Ansu Fati's injury issues this year and Ousmane Dembele's, Memphis Depay has been far and away Barcelona's best attacker this season. He's also 2 years younger than Morata. And, you know, it makes it a little bit questionable about why they want to bring in Morata, having just signed Ferran Torres as well. That seems to suggest that Xavi sees Ferran Torres more as a right winger, which could come in handy if Dembele leaves on a free at the end of the season, which it looks increasingly likely. But given the club's financial situation, Morata and Ferran Torres would be an excellent January, really, and a massive step up on Luke de Jong, that's for sure. And President Joan Laporta has made clear that he's pretty confident in the direction Barcelona are going. He said, everybody in the world should get ready as we are back as big players in the market. Barca are back. And he continued by saying, anything is possible around Erling Haaland. Well, I can tell you, Joan Laporta, it is your job to big up your club. It is your job to, raise morale. But anything isn't possible at Barcelona, really. They're still in a debt of 1.3 billion euros, according to The Athletic. They made a loss of 481 million euros in the last financial year. And yes, they've just got this massive loan from Goldman Sachs, but that loan, that debt, isn't going anywhere fast. The board have approved an operating budget of 765 million euros for 21-22, which goes to show that they do have some continued pulling power in the market this year. But, this problem is they're just kicking the can down the road, really, with this. There's still massive financial issues that need to be sorted out. But in terms of this deal being completed, AS say it's 95% done. Fabrizio Romano says that Juve aren't going to sanction it unless they can bring in a replacement this month. According to his report, PSG's Mauro Icardi is the most likely to arrive on loan before Sassuolo's Gianluca Scamacca arrives in the summer. And I know, Henry, we've been a massive fan of some of the bangers that Scamacca's been scoring for Sassuolo this season so far. Where do you think this leaves Juventus? Would you happily let Morata leave to bring in Icardi?
No. I don't
I'm with you, yeah.
I don't think it's worth rupturing a team mid-season for this kind of change. I think Morata's still on 5 league goals this season. Dybala's the only one that's matched him, or maybe got more. So it's not as if he's not contributing to that side. If I was Juventus, I'd hold on to him for another 6 months. There's no point rushing into a buy now. Don't get me wrong, Icardi could be a good short-term solution. I'm not sure Scamacca really has the sort of number of goals in him to step up to the plate. So I'm quite surprised by this, but it looks like they are being slightly strong-armed in this situation. From what I understand, Xavi's been calling Morata, being quite insistent on this. I think that Ferran Torres' success has really put some wind in Barca's sails, hasn't it? They get quite confident. But yeah, if I was Juventus, I'd just ride this one out, wait and see. I don't think it's worth losing him right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I tend to agree with you. I think Morata, has a better scoring record than people give him credit for. He's a much better all-round player than people give him credit for, but he does lack a bit of confidence at times. He doesn't really strike me as a Barcelona level player for the next 2-3 years, but maybe as a short-term option, not the worst deal. But we want to hear from you guys, much more importantly than our thoughts. Barcelona fans, let us know what you guys think about Morata potentially joining. Juve fans, are you sad to see him go? Would you be happy for Icardi to be his replacement? Let us know in the comments down below, and let's move on to our result of the week.
So for our result of the week, we're staying in Spain. But what a big result it really was, Doogie. Getafe, relegation strugglers, getting a 1-0 win over Real Madrid, top of the league. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, absolutely massive. We could have mentioned just a quick shout out to Villarreal's 5-0 crushing victory over Levante. But there was one result this weekend that had a massive bearing, or potentially massive bearing, on this year's title race, and that was Getafe's 1-0 victory over Real Madrid. This was the first time Real Madrid had tasted defeat for the first time since the 3rd of October, and just the 3rd time this season. And yeah, Sevilla's 1-0 win last night, sealed by that Campos goal in the second half, meant the gap was reduced to 5 points at the top of the table. And Sevilla have a game in hand.
Yes.
So guys, we want to know from you, is the title race back on in Spain just a month after EFD said it was wrapped up? We are left with egg on our face once again. But yeah, here, Los Blancos shot themselves in the foot very early on. After just 9 minutes, a ball rolled back to Eder Militao at the back after a bit of loose play in midfield. And as he slowly turned back to pass it back to Courtois, turning like an oil tanker, Erling snuck in and finished past the Belgian. It was a shocking error from Militao, who had been excellent towards the back end of 2021. Real then dominated from then on. They had 74% possession, but they really didn't create too many quality chances. Modric hit the bar. David Soria made some great saves, particularly from long-range efforts. But Ancelotti's side were really far off their best here. It's a really disappointing start to 2022. They only created 0.9 XG to Getafe's 0.9, and that was actually the 4th time this season they've created less than 1 XG in the league. We have talked about it on occasion how they are far exceeding their expected goals, and it slightly came back to bite them here with no Vinicius Junior, of course, as well. They also didn't create over 1xG against Real Betis, Osasuna and Atleti, and 2 of those games you'd expect them to sort of dominate in particular. So, a little bit concerning for Real Madrid, but I think it's just a blip in their season rather than anything too bad. This was the 4th time they failed to score this season. For context, in terms of the other league leaders around Europe, Bayern have scored in every single league game this season, as have Inter Milan. PSG have in all but 3, and same with Man City, have also failed to score in 3 games, which seems crazy given Man City's recent form. But yeah, Real Madrid a little bit, shot shy compared to, or potentially goal shy compared to the other teams, other league leaders around Europe. But Henry, I mean, what a performance from Getafe, or what a result in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd only taken 1 point from their first 8 games. They fired Mikel, who was the replacement for Bordalás. They brought in Quique Sanchez Flores, one of the all-time great-looking lads of the Premier League managerial circuit, isn't he? And,
best-looking manager in football, I think.
There we go. Doogie Critchley's, you heard it from him. Since then, 4 wins, 5 draws, 2 defeats from 11 games. They're now 16th, 2 points clear of relegation. Go on, Getafe. They've always been punching above their weight for a number of years now. And, listen, only 5 sides have taken more than their 18 points in the last 11 games under the former Watford boss. And, that's level with Barcelona and Atleti at the time of writing. And, who knows the way Watford are going. Maybe they'll come knocking for Quique Sanchez Flores once more after his after his rejuvenation at Getafe with Claudio Ranieri clearly struggling right now. But I mean, listen, it wasn't a great performance for Real Madrid at all. Like you said, hit the bar a couple of times. Modric actually looked pretty good, but I mean, now it looks like Carvajal is out with another injury. Yeah, Vinicius was also missing with COVID. No Jovic off the bench, which has often been quite a useful resource recently. Asensio and Rodrigo, pretty anonymous, weren't they? 1 dribble, 1 key pass, 0 shots between them. But yeah, I mean, listen, I actually think the goalkeeper was exceptional. Soria for Getafe made 2 wonderful saves. But I agree with you. Maybe Unai was probably man of the match. 2 tackles, 1 interception, 4 clearances, 3 aerial duels, 1 key pass, 2 shots and a goal. That is an all-action display from the forwards. As you said, egg on the face for EFD after we bigged up Militao, said Real Madrid, going to go for it. Tight in the bag. Some people were suggesting Sevilla might not even come second or whatever. I mean, Sevilla looked really in the hunt. And actually, I had a look at their fixtures now. Sevilla they're in a great run of form, and they've only got 1 of the top 10 in their next 6 league games, and that's 9th placed Valencia. So they've got a real opportunity if they can just string together some results. Teams like Elche coming up, if they can just... I mean, to be fair, Real Madrid's league fixtures aren't much worse. I think they've got a couple of tougher sides, but they've also got more games like the Supercopa, etc., and Champions League to worry about too. So if Sevilla can just put a run of games together, it is quite exciting to see what could happen here. Because as we said, if they win their next one, they're just 2 points behind, and yeah, a team in form. I mean, next up for Real Madrid, they play Alcoyano in the Copa del Rey on Wednesday. So that's the 3rd-tier side. They need to try and get a good result here, but this is a team that beat them last year in January. So that'll be an exciting reunion. I'm not sure that Lightning will strike twice on this front, but yeah. I mean, what do you think, Dukes? Could Sevilla really put together a little title challenge?
I'm still pretty sceptical, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think Real Madrid are by far the better team, and I think they've got much better depth as well. Particularly with Sevilla, they've got a load of injuries at the moment. They've got a load of players out with COVID. We obviously don't know how COVID's going to affect the rest of Europe. I mean, right now in England, we seem to be going through our peak in terms of the Omicron variant, but it's going to be really disruptive for the next few months across Europe as well. It's going to be really difficult for clubs to manage their squad. So I always think the squads with the deepest, most amount of players, highest quality amount of players are going to ultimately come out on top, unfortunately. That's why it feels like Man City are going to be incredibly difficult to topple in the Premier League. And I think it's going to be the same with Real Madrid in La Liga, unfortunately. So whilst I would love to back Sevilla, I just can't see it happening, unfortunately.
Oh, there we go. Who knows? Let's see what Sevilla can put together. Let us know in the comments whether or not you agree or disagree. And let's move on to our start of the week.
Okay, for our first start of the week of 2022, I bet you're all eagerly anticipating who it is. And it's Angel Correa, but there was a player that definitely deserved a massive shout out, Henry.
Yeah, Athletic Club's Oyan Sanchez. He scored a hat-trick in the Basque club's 3-1 victory away at Osasuna. And that takes them on to 7 goal involvements in 16 La Liga games for the club, only 8 of which have been starts. I saw he's averaging about 45 minutes a game. 21 years old forward. Looks like Athletic have done it again. Found another gem within their sort of unique production system. Anyway, Angel Correa ensured Atletico Madrid's 2022 got off to a better start than their end to 2021, scoring an excellent brace as Los Blancos beat Rayo Vallecano 2-0 at the Wanda. You know, what's crazy about this is it was Simeone's first win since the 28th of November, following 4 straight defeats. And it was very much deserved too. I think they really went and gave the attacking displays, which I think a lot of the sort of fans have been crying out for, to be honest. You know, they created 2 XG to Rayo's 0.1, really disappointing from one of our sort of surprise candidates of 2021. And you know, it could have been an even bigger scoreline, really, if Suarez and Lamar, who was actually brilliant, had managed to finish some of their chances there. But I mean, Correa, Dukes, he was pretty exceptional, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was pretty sharp. I mean, the first goal was a little bit ugly. It sort of broke to him after good work from Carrasco down the right-hand side. But then his finish for the second was really nice from a Renan Lodi cutback, who was looking like he was sort of putting together some better form after a disappointing end to 2021 for him. But Correa, his 90 looked like this. 1 tackle, 2 aerial duels, 1 dribble, 5 key passes. That's really exceptional. 3 shots and 2 goals. The 26-year-old Argentinian has now got 6 goals and 4 assists in 19 league games this season, but just 13 starts. He's averaging a goal contribution every 108 minutes. That's versus 142 for Suarez, 179 for João Felix, and 221 for Antoine Griezmann. Now, after 17 league goal contributions last term, you could probably argue he's probably been Atleti's most consistent attacking player since the start of last season, given the fact Suarez was so excellent last year but has struggled this year. Griezmann hasn't really got going back at Atleti, and João Felix is struggling for game time still. In terms of the result, what this means for them, it means they stay 4th, but they're now just 1 point off Real Betis, who lost 2-0 at home to Celta Vigo. What a shocking result that is. Yeah. And they're now 1 point ahead of Barcelona, who managed to hang on and beat Mallorca 1-0. Was watching the highlights of that this morning. Not a particularly convincing display from the Blaugrana, and they were indebted to a magnificent Marc-Andre ter Stegen save in the dying minutes as well. Go check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, well done Angel Correa, well done to Atletico Madrid for getting 2022 off to a much better start. That's all we've got time for on ERU for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed our Spanish La Liga special. Henry, what would you push to in terms of our Christmas content?
Well, we've got a listicle which came out on the 1st on FD, which is 10 predictions for 2022. Go and see how many of those you reckon we're actually going to get right. And then on, I think this week on the 8th, we've got a really interesting explain coming out about why top players aren't signing contracts. Look at maybe some of the free agent kind of situation we're seeing. So go check that out. That's written by Pat, so always guaranteed to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Loads of great content. Oh, also go check out the Football Pyramid, our Christmas special, Zach versus Chris Hamill. It was a titanic battle in the end. So yeah, go check that out on Euro Football Daily. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please like the video and leave a comment about what you thought of the show, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.